Good morning. I'm Chris Silva, President and CEO of the Taunton Erie Chamber, and welcome to our quarterly Q&A series. So this morning we're fortunate to have Jen Menard with us. Jen is the Regional Director for the South Coast, Cape, and Islands of the Mass Office of Business Development / Executive Office of Economic Development. And Jen will walk us through the Business Front Door, which is the office's newest platform to ensure that you receive the most up-to-date and relevant information about the state's resources for businesses. Before we begin, I'd like to thank the session sponsor, which is SCU Credit Union, and invite David Sprunger, who is the VP Business Development Officer, to say a few words.
Thanks, Chris. Good morning, everybody. So for me, on this area of Taunton, as I cover this for the credit union and commercial division, and we work with business owners, new businesses, established businesses. We help them build their business. We partner up with the chamber, and we partner up with other organizations that can help the businesses. So that's what I do. I'm an organizational type person, I guess you could call it. Relationship manager, and we set up the accounts, we do lending, we do all types of things that helps businesses grow, and then we customize them as you need, as your business grows and changes. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. So I'll turn it back to you, Chris.
Okay, thanks, David, and thanks, SCU, for your support of the event. Welcome, folks that just joined us, and I'm about to turn it over to Jen Menard. Take it away, Jen.
Thank you so much. I'm going to just take a moment to share my screen. So give me 1 second. Perfect. All right, thank you, everybody. I really appreciate the opportunity to speak to you today. I really want to thank Chris Silva, as well as the board of the Taunton Chamber, for inviting me here today. Chris and I have been engaged and partnered on business development efforts, and really Chris ensuring that the chamber is working very closely with the state. So this is just another great example of this. So thank you, Chris, to give me the opportunity to speak to your members about the resources and opportunities happening with the state. I am the regional director for the Mass Office of Business Development, as Chris noted, and I oversee the Southeast region, which is about 60 municipalities. As a part of that role, I'm a connector for businesses in and around business development resources. And I also act as the region's navigator for the state's business platform, which is called the Business Front Door, or BFD, which is why I'm here today. So I really appreciate you all taking the time to learn a little bit more about what we call the BFD. I really appreciate, again, the opportunity to do that. I'm going to go to slide 2, see if this works. Can everybody see my slides? Everybody good? I'm sure you'd be yelling out if you couldn't, so thank you. So the BFD is really about access to resources and information for businesses. Businesses can sign up through the BFD and then gain access to the entirety of Team Massachusetts. The reason why I note this is because Team Massachusetts really does come with a lot of opportunity for businesses. These organizations are the ones that offer programs and resources that benefit businesses. And I will get into the logistics of the site and how businesses can use it, but I wanted to stop on this slide for a moment, only because it really does reflect the importance of the partners that I have that work with me with companies that go into the BFD. The way that we figure out how to understand what your resource needs are, but as well as align your company to programs that are offered by the partners that are listed here. Again, I'm going to talk more about what we call the business front door. And the reason why I'm going to immediately tell you a little bit about the site that I think is important to understand and why you would want to be a part of it is that there are 2 parts to this site that are resources for businesses. The first is an inquiry track. The inquiry track allows businesses to go into the BFD and ask any kind of question that's around their business. For instance, if you wanted to start an LLC or you wanted to do something like that, you wanted to understand how you'd become a manufacturer in the state and be designated as that. Those are the kinds of questions that you would go into the BFD and put into this area. You will see there's a table of contents with some areas of questions. That's really just to give people an idea of what they could be asking. And I will tell you that this is an area where we do try to really make connections and try to get to where businesses, if someone's frustrated, really, hitting a wall. How can we help and try to understand what's happening and how we can be helpful to them? The second part of the BFD is the funding and resource track. The funding and resource track is a great opportunity for companies to be able to let us know what their interests are, the programs and resources they're interested in. And this allows you to tell us what you're interested in. I think a lot of times people will ask me to identify programs that they're interested in, but this is a way for me to actually find out what your company's all about and what your eligibility is so that I can make the proper connections to Team Massachusetts or another organization, depending on what your interest is or what your resources that you're looking for. So I'm going to show you a number of slides that are really just going to show you the ease of going into the business front door. One of the things we find is there's a lot of different kinds of sophistication around technology. And this is a very simple platform that allows companies to go in a very simple way. It's not too difficult to maneuver through. So initially you would go into the business front door, and honestly, it is as easy as coming in and signing into the BFD and making an account. Once you make an account, there is again, I think I need to go to the second slide. Once you get into your account, you really do get a full concierge experience. Once you have made an account and said where you are located, that will decide who your navigator is. If you are in the Southeast, it's most likely myself. And I would then navigate you through what you're looking for, whether it's inquiry or whether it's resources. I would work directly with you on making sure that your answers are, your questions are answered. I will say that, so sorry, there's a little bit of a lag with my PowerPoint. I will say that I'm going to go back to the two track areas. We have both resources as well as inquiry. And again, I would be engaging with you on a one-on-one basis, trying to figure out where it is and what your interests are. A lot of you, again, will understand that the resources can be so different for every business and organization. So this is why the BFD is so helpful. And for those of you that are interested in resources or making an inquiry, I do believe that this is a great way for you to start. Many of the resources that you may want to ask me about, your company may or may not be eligible for. And so one of the things I find in a group like this, you may stop and say, tell me what programs are available. And that question is so difficult because of the array of Team Massachusetts funding opportunities. You may not be eligible for 20% of them or 40%, depending on what is going on with your company. The BFD allows you to have that personal interface with me so that I can really work with you and figure out what you're eligible for, make those connections, and it all happens within the BFD. So not only can I see it, but Team Massachusetts can see it, and as you're working with us, we can see what's happening, what you're interested in. It really does allow us to be able to service you as a business and what your questions are in a really organized and thoughtful way. I will also want to note that this is the place that it would show what resources you were looking for. So if you went through the process and said, I'm very much interested in, for instance, I'm expanding and I'm adding jobs. That's one program that's under MOBD and a program that I work with quite a bit, which is called the Economic Development Incentive Program or the EDIP program. This program allows for companies who are doing job creation as well as capital investment. If they're relocating or if they're expanding their business, this allows for us to be able to provide possible state tax credits to a company that are associated with that job creation. And again, this is one of those opportunities for a company to be able to do that at the, so that we incentivize them to stay. So this is for those of you in the room, if that's happening, please reach out to me very quickly because this program is fantastic, but it is an incentive program that happens at the beginning of your project. But the reason why I bring it up is because the application and the way to access this program is to be in the business front door. And that's the way I would connect you. The application is actually inside of the BFD. So the reason why we want you to do that is to have the access to applications, But once you're in, we also then inform you of all of the, anytime a funding opportunity opens or a grant program is opening, you would get that information as someone who has signed in and put your contact information into the business front door. I also want to just note, if you're thinking about workforce training, business plan writing, really a diverse amount of resources, this again is all a place where we can send you to different kinds of experts in the field that are doing that kind of work. And I believe that's the end of my presentation, but I would love to answer any questions. I know there's a lot of people in the room that have probably engaged in the business front door or have worked on some of these programs. So feel free if you have any questions. I know it's hot and everybody's really tired. Oh, I see Susan.
Hi, Jen. Good morning. Thank you so much for all this. We have this on our website as a resource under the Seed website. So we've sent many, many people to this. So it's been great feedback. Thank you.
I thank you for that. I also want to mention, if there's ever a time for those of you organizations that may be sending businesses to me, it's very helpful if you would like to send me an email, let me know about the company. So don't hold back if you'd like to do a little bit of communication to me to let me know a company's coming, or that you want to make sure that I'm aware of something about your company. I'm always available, and I know Chris definitely has my contact information that can be provided as well. Thank you, Susan.
You're welcome. Do you have any stats on how many businesses have used it, Jen?
So I know we have a couple of thousand that have joined the business front door, and it really is at the beginning of us really doing things like this and trying to get more businesses in. And I do feel like we've had excellent returns on, because we do a lot of surveying companies that have come through and continually changing the platform, because it really did start in the past year. So it's been great to figure it out. And Chris, I know you'd be interested in this. We actually have now included nonprofits to be able to put their information in so that they can at least get the emails and information. This was for profit. I think we started this thinking, okay, let's take this piece of the pie, and then we'll figure out how we can now include nonprofits and others.
That's great, because I was going to ask about that. What types of businesses tend to benefit the most from this in your experience?
That's a great question, because I really do work with small to large businesses. And I think one of the things that is the benefit is that each one of them get to really tell me their story so that I can then customize my response. I think if we're looking at a small startup, I'm going to be really looking at how I can support them, get them to the Small Business Development Center, making sure that they've got their business plan written, and then also on, ensuring that if they're looking for an incubator space, like what are their needs comparatively to a big company who may be saying, hey, I want to relocate and I want to expand 100,000 square feet and go into a new facility where I'm, engaging with MassEcon and getting them sites. I mean, so it really depends on what they're looking for. And I do find that I have worked really closely. In particular, I mean, Taunton is a great example. I have really worked hard, and I think I saw Jay here as well. The city is so active and works so closely with us. So I can say that there's been a lot of companies in Taunton that we have worked with, and I know with you, Chris and Jay.
Thanks, Jen. We appreciate you.
You're welcome, Jay. And I want to say too, and this isn't just because I'm on this, it's been such a great partnership with Taunton. And I think when there's people in the room that are all about just figuring out how we can do great stuff at Taunton, great stuff happens. So thank you for your partnership.
Jen, are you able to maybe give an example you can think of, how about on the small business side, maybe?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So just an example of a business that would come through. I mean, I think one of the challenges always is the connection to what is open and eligible. And I would like to note that one of the things that can be very helpful is people will be looking for funding, and you will Google and you won't see anything. one of the things that is helpful for me is that I'm actually working with all of the funders. I know when the grant programs are opening, I know when they're closing. They actually, all the funders come and speak to all the navigators, myself and my colleagues, to ensure that if you're coming in and you're a manufacturer, for instance, and I know that MMAP is opening or just opened at the MassTech Collaborative, that's where we can be helpful, because you might look and see a grant, but it's not open. I can at least give you an idea of if I think it's going to get funding again. Or so I do believe that it's more than just looking up a grant. It's also understanding the cycle, the competitive nature. We have a grant called Business Builds that's under the under MOBD, and it's a grant that is actually goes along with our EDIP program, but it's a very competitive grant. And so I would love to be able to explain folks what that grant's about, and also that it's an extremely competitive grant. So when they're going in, they have a good understanding of the ROI. How much time am I going to put into this grant versus what's my expectation of being funded? So I think it really, I think going across the board, all of these companies really that's very helpful to them. When it comes to small businesses, I do think that there's a great network of folks locally as well as at the state level. We make I think there's a lot of hand-holding, a lot of looking at how we can support them. So it's just a different kind of support than when you're looking at a larger business.
Yeah, that makes sense. And on the nonprofit side, since you've recently opened up to nonprofits, you mentioned the resources. Is it more challenging for the nonprofits to receive funding in your experience?
Well, the funding that we have primarily is for profits, with probably the exception of the Workforce Training Fund. The Workforce Training Fund does provide some opportunities for those groups that are nonprofit, but there's still some exemptions. So I would have to talk to the nonprofit to see how they did their unemployment insurance. But again, so that's one of those things where engaging with me can be very helpful, because you might look on the website and see I'm not eligible, but I actually maybe can say, but wait a minute, do you do this and this? And maybe we can see, because I find for those of you out there, the Workforce Training Fund, if you are paying into the unemployment, the unemployment for Massachusetts, you have the ability to get free training. And that's just a resource that, that's available to you. And I always like to make sure people are aware of that, what a great resource that is. And hopefully, and sometimes it's hard because you have to take the time to have folks maybe stop what they're doing to be trained. But it's really a great opportunity for folks to think about this thing that they're eligible for, that's open to businesses.
So once somebody registers with the portal, they're going, what happens next?
So once you register for the portal, you have the option to either go into one of the tracks I mentioned. So if you go in, if you just put your name in, you'll just start getting emails, and I will see you. You'll be a part of my case management. So you'll be an account I see. Once you put in a resource request or an inquiry request, then you and I start engaging with each other. What is it I can do for you? What's the question you're asking? The inquiry track, I'll tell you, people ask any question. It's really out there. And we put our heads together and try to figure ways out to help companies that are asking. Usually they're more like, how do I start a business? How do I end my LLC? Those are easy. We can easily answer those. And then on the other side of the resource, again, it really does come to asking questions to the business. What are you doing? Are you from here? What are the things, to really understand what their eligibility is. Some of it's their industry, Massachusetts Life Science Center, Massachusetts Clean Energy Center, MassTech Collaborative. All of these groups have funding, but they're very specific to industry. So again, it's a lot of conversation.
Sure. Yeah, makes sense. Any other questions from our group on the call today?
Dick Schaefer doesn't even have a question for me. Dick Schaefer.
I have a question.
Yes, please.
Hi, my name's Kiana. I do have a nonprofit. I'm curious, you mentioned the workforce development, the training. I do pay into unemployment. And so can you share a little bit more about that? Because I'm not familiar with, like, when you say trainings, who is that for? Like, what does that look like?
Sure. So there's two different programs under the workforce training. There's an express program and a general program. How many employees do you have?
Technically, I only have like
So-
two
Okay, so under
Canadian
100. So I
W-2s.
should have asked it differently.
Yeah.
It's under 100, right? So
Yeah.
under 100, you'd go into the express program. And what I would do is I would connect you with the workforce training, and then you apply. You go, like, let's just say you have folks that I always like to start with what is it that you're looking for? Because one of the things is it supervisory training? Like, you have two people that you'd love to make managers. Is it that you really need people to have customer service training, which can be so helpful at times for folks to just learn how to deal with difficult clients and how to really be a part of a customer service team? Or is it ESOL training where folks are learning English but contextualized to what you're doing within your job? So there's a lot of different kinds of trainings that are a part of the workforce training. It's really about what your needs are. And I would actually connect you with them, and then you'd be working with ComCore, who does the program. You would apply for that separately and figure out what it is. So if it was like three of you, like what is that? What are the things that you're trying to get to? And I think what you'd find is there's a huge diversity of like kinds of programs or workforce training that are available.
Thank you.
But at least you stopped me from giving Dick Schaefer a hard time. I appreciate your question. And I really appreciate everybody coming this morning. I know everybody's talking about how this is the coolest day of the next 3 days. So thank you for coming on the Zoom.
Awful.
Thank you so much, Jen. So we are recording this, as I mentioned to you at the beginning. So I really do feel like I'm always encouraging our members to just create your profile in the business front door, because for exactly what you're talking about, you just never know until you have a conversation or you ask the questions, what resources might be available to you, regardless of the size of your business. So thank you for this. We will continue to spread the word, and I appreciate you being here with us.
Thank you so much. And again, I really appreciate Chris and your leadership. And for those of you out there, again, if you are also, I see a lot of folks that are bankers and economic development folks. Those of you that are working with companies that are expanding, I just want to note that EDIP program I talked about. I know people like Jay, you and I work together on these all the time. But those of you that are working with companies who are expanding and doing that kind of job creation, make sure to connect me with them as early as possible in the process. And of course, the BFD is so important. So thank you for listening to me, and do appreciate any of you that either go in or letting people know that this is a great way to connect with resources at the state level.
And I think if I could add, Chris, I just think that Jen is a great resource for any kind of business questions whatsoever. So if she can't help you in her avenue, she can find the people that will be able to help. So it's something that the businesses are constantly struggling with, to find somebody like the chamber that can help them as far as resources. So make sure you write down Jen's email and reach out if you have questions.
Thank you. For the really hard ones, call Jay, but no, I'm only kidding. But in all seriousness, that's true. And sometimes it's about they don't know who to call in the state. It might not be me. That's okay. Call me. We'll get them to the right people. Because we always find we call the person we know. Please have them call me. We can always figure that out. Yes, there is a link to the portal. I can put it in the chat really quickly. Let's see how quickly I can do that.
Thank you.
Jen, just wanted to say thank you. I signed in because I was curious, and I was unaware of this program and resource. And probably like me, there are many businesses or agencies that are unaware. And so I think this initiative, Chris, by putting this together, and David, thank you for sponsoring, David Sprunger. But I think just bringing out the word about the resources, that was one thing. And then I also think that you got people like Sue Murray from SEED and the Chamber and Jay from Economic Development, like collaborating. I think that the whole collaborative spirit can help bring these resources to the businesses. And so thank you. I'm glad I signed up because I was unaware of these programs. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Ed.
Thanks, Ed.
And it's good to see you.
Likewise. Stay cool.
I know. Well, of course, Chris was smart enough to do this virtually. So thank you.
Well, thank you all. Thanks, everyone. Have a great rest of your day and week.
And
Thank
thank you so
you.
much.
Take care.
Bye.